Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the man that talks about the constant trash can that is the stand. I'm just kidding, it was slightly better this week, wasn't it? I know a lot of you had a lot to say about our breakdown last week, but I'm going in with as much of a clean slate as possible with this video to give this show another chance. It's only had about 6 so far, so we'll try and be gentle. Now it opens with Ezra Miller's trash can man getting the nuke from the military installation. He's gone full Ezra Miller again, but I do feel like certain parts of it were toned down in comparison to what we saw last week. Whether this was done through the edit or the director just thinking, what the hell have I done? His entire arc has been heavily compressed, leading to a very short appearance by the character yet again. It's a shame, as in the book the trash can man actually has an arc that has him initially being an enemy of Flag before he's recruited in order to go and get the giant warhead. It's far more complex and really gives reason to why he's so afraid of the Ravens that constantly stalk him. However, all those character nuances are skipped over so we can see him dry humping the missile head, and yep, I'm already back to taking a dump on the show. They don't really explain how he's even able to carry it to his vehicle, and when he's screeching away in those urine-stained Y-fronts, it's difficult to not feel like this has been taken from another show completely. Luckily, we don't spend too much time with him, and we quickly cut to Harold, who announces that he detonated the explosive of his own free will. As we know, this isn't the case at all, and he has been manipulated by those around him, including Flag and Nadine. Harold to me very much represents the sort of real-life lone wolf killer who, when people take a proper look at, see there's a lot of contributing factors to why they went off the deep end. These lonely men are often influenced by the things around them, which grants them with a negative perspective of the world, and they often start to hate it because of said developed prejudices. Harold believes that Flag will accept him, whilst others have shunned him. However, due to comments made by the villain later, it's clear that he was simply being used as a patsy. Now the series differs from the work in some respects, and though his fate in the end is similar, in the book it becomes clear that Flag caused his death. When riding the bike to Vegas, some supernatural force that he's unable to completely pinpoint causes him to swerve. However, here it's Nadine who tricks him into crashing by making him speed up so that he can't brake when it comes to a dangerous bend. Personally, I prefer the original, as it makes Flag out to be very manipulative and not really caring of those that serve him. I feel like the show at some points is trying to play Nadine out as the victim, but it's difficult to really feel any sympathy for her when she's also doing stuff like this. Harold ends his own life like in the source material, but I don't know, it just felt a bit too glossed over for me in the entry, and he didn't really get the full proper send-off that I was hoping for. You may remember that when discussing the death of his old friend Teddy, that he had stated he took the coward's way out, clearly portraying how he views people that take their own lives. However, him wrestling with the perception of that, whilst also having to do it, doesn't really get put into the spotlight, even though it would have been amazing to explore. I think it would have been great to see him ultimately reduced to accepting that he was a coward in his own eyes, rather than the Tom Cruise-esque figure that he wanted to be. There was also the opportunity to show how both Nadine and Fran, the two people that he travelled with, in his eyes betrayed him. Fran because she wouldn't let him back, and Nadine because she hated him, didn't she? Now Fran, you can't really blame, and it would have been nice to show how him basically wanting to force a woman to love him made it so that another woman forced him to seal his own fate, but these complexities are completely omitted. The group actually spend more time navigating a hole in the highway than he does in his final moments, and yeah, to me, just feels like he could have been given more attention at the expense of certain other aspects in this entry. Now, speaking of deaths, we also get a big one in the episode with the passing of Mother Abigail. Similar to the source material, she brings a final message from God to give to them, but unlike the book, she passes immediately after doing this, with a candle snuffing out to show that she's gone. Very, very subtle that, I must admit. Now in the book she lived until the morning, whereas here it's clear that God let her live to instruct what they should do, and then he came and took her. She explicitly states that Franny should stay behind, and that one will fall, which does come true later on. The group say their goodbyes, and we still haven't really learned about the backstory of Joe, which I feel is a bit of a missed opportunity. It's actually really messed up, and with just 2 episodes left, I don't think that we'll be getting it. In case you don't know, the one next week is actually the finale of the book, and then episode 9 will be a brand new proper ending devised by Stephen King himself. Now the group walk across the country at the request of Mother Abigail, and it makes for a nice montage that travels the vastness of the US. Even with Mother A saying that, I still probably would have hotwired a car, but it's one of the strongest scenes in the series so far, showcasing Flag's spies watching them every step of the way, as well as a sign that warns them of the slaughter that they're in for. They discover Harold being feasted upon by vultures, and a note written by him which stated how he was always left out of everything. It really paints him out as a figure whose bullying and trauma led him to becoming a monster himself, and he apologizes but still believes that he did it of his own free will. However, he later says that he was misled, showing that the truth is somewhat cloudy. He signs it off as Hawk rather than Harold, confirming that he loves Cobra Kai, and also that the person he viewed himself as being died, and that he carried out the detonation in many ways to prove to himself that he could do it. Larry covers him up as a form of respect, and there goes the most interesting character in the show. Elsewhere, we see Nadine get the red carpet rolled out for her in the desert, and she finally loses that V card to Randall Flagg, who impregnates her. In the source material, she actually had sex with him twice, I think, and the first was right after placing the bomb, and the latter time they did it on the road, which sort of gets mushed together here whilst they mush together. I can't show it because of YouTube, but similar to both encounters, Flagg is very forceful, and she sees his true face, which makes her hair turn white. Slowly she starts to slip into insanity, and her appearance at the end shows that the baby is corrupting her from the inside out. We actually see a mark on her leg at one point, showing that Flagg has marked her. I think she will slowly start to see the truth of the matter. I'm not going to be spoiling anything from the book just yet, but in the work, Flagg wakes up to find a poop in his bed. Wait, sorry, wrong story. She actually greets those from Boulder in the show, whereas that's not present in the book for a reason that you'll discover later in the video. Now Stu is the one who falls, and the rest of the group go on without him, with Larry being appointed as the leader. Stu being left with a broken leg of course mirrors the death of Harold, but whereas the latter was left alone by himself, Glenn's dog Kojak returns to show that he'll probably be spared down the line. Now on the road, the group are picked up by Lloyd, and this differs from the source material as he wasn't present with the soldiers. Here though, it just makes sense to include him as it shows the importance of getting them. They arrive in Vegas to see people crucified, which of course is similar to what the man who showed up earlier in the season was victim to. Statues of Flagg have been crafted, and we see that this Caesar-like figure is now pretty much worshipped as a god across the entire city. There's also a wolf, which is another symbol of the character, and they arrive at the Inferno whilst he looks over the city like an all-seeing god. Upon entering the casino, you can hear Larry's song in the background, "Baby Can You Dig Your Man," mocking him in many respects. Nadine greets them, ending the episode, and leading us to the finale. Well, the first finale, anyway. Now, I will be spoiling what happens to Stu and why Nadine's fate is different here, so if you don't want it ruined, then turn off now. If you enjoyed the breakdown as well, I'd appreciate the thumbs up and a subscription so you don't miss next week's breakdown. Anyway, in the works, Stu is actually found by Tom Cullen, who has been very absent in this episode. As for Nadine, the reason her arc goes differently is because after Flagg forces himself on her, it sends her into a state of catatonia, which is why he has to come and pick her up. She's almost unresponsive at points, but awakens just enough to be fully aware of what's happened to her and why Flagg is a bad man. Nadine actually realizes that she has to put an end to it and taunts Flagg to the point that he kills her, which involves him throwing her off the penthouse. On the way down, he can see that she's smiling and thus realizes that he's been tricked yet again. Now, her being alive here could indeed hint that the show is going in another direction, so I thought I'd just add that in here in case we get to it next week and it's completely different. Anyway, that wraps up the episode, and as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. Don't forget that on the 30th of January we're giving away 3 copies of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings 4K box sets to our subscribers. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the series last week. A lot more entertaining than this, a lot more of me talking about why I think the show is bad and why it's not working, so definitely check it out after this. With that out of the way, thank you for sticking through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time, yeah? You better be back, otherwise there'll be trouble. You take care of yourself. Peace.